Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Monday, the 4th of December. Good to have you aboard, part of the Believe Podcast Network, and presented as always by Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. You've been involved in any kind of an accident. First, you call 911, then you get an attorney from Anidjar and Levine on the phone. Anidjar and Levine accident attorneys, they will put their skills to work for you. 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Great to have you aboard here as we start the week with you. It is Monday, but we're feeling good because your favorite little football team, the Miami Dolphins, 9-3. 9-3 for the first time in 23 years. That year also, 23 years ago, last time the Miami Dolphins won a playoff game. That's right, Lamar Smith game. You remember that? If you don't remember it, hey, come on, open a book. The Lamar Smith game. It's funny because, you know, I've been asked many times, hey, what's your all-time favorite Miami Heat moment? What's your all-time favorite Florida Panther moment or what have you? And it's, all right, when we get to all-time favorite Miami Dolphin moment, it's probably the Lamar Smith game. And that game was awesome, and it was super exciting the way they won it. They ended up losing the next week in the playoffs by 35. But, like, it was a super exciting moment, and it's just not a good enough moment for it to be my all-time favorite moment. It's a wild card win. You know, it's kind of like with the Florida Panthers, where before this past season, or really even the last couple years when they've started to look like a competent franchise, you know, the all-time greatest moment in Panther history, all-time greatest goal, was Billy Lindsay in 1996 in the first round in Game 5 to clinch the series against Boston. Look, it's right up here on my wall, right there. And while it's an amazing moment and it was awesome, for that, all these years later, to be the greatest moment in Panther history, that's terrible. That's bad. Now, look, I told you, I've surpassed it by 2 moments. Carter Verhaeghe, Game 7 at Boston last year, and Matthew Tkachuk, the greatest moment, Game 4 to clinch the Eastern Conference Championship against Carolina with just under 4 seconds remaining. But it's similar there with the Dolphins. Now, this isn't in franchise history. This is just in my lifetime. But for the greatest Dolphin moment in my lifetime to be the Lamar Smith game 23 years ago and a wild card win, that's such a shitty greatest moment ever. So hopefully we are trending in a direction where we're going to get a new greatest moment ever of your lifetime. And if you're a Dolphin fan who's under 30 years old, you probably need one. You don't have very many great moments. So the Dolphins, just beat the shit out of the Commanders yesterday. 45-15. That comes off. So a 30-point road win coming off of a 31-point road win last week against the worst team in the NFL, the New York Jets. And you're feeling really good because right now, look, last week for 2 days, from Friday to Sunday, the Dolphins were in first place in the AFC, and then Baltimore played. They won. They jumped back up to first place. Well, right now, at least for 24 hours, the Dolphins are back in first place in the AFC. Dolphins are first place right now, and depending on what happens tonight with the Jacksonville Jaguars, whether or not they will remain in first place. So there's a lot going on, a lot happening here, and of course, Bet Online. It's the holiday season. You got the NFL in full stride, NBA, NHL. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, predictions. Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports, and not just the big four. Bet Online has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that's played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to Bet Online today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. So obviously, we'll start here with the Dolphins, but we got the college football playoff to get to. Obviously, everyone's crazy about all that. You knew there was going to be chaos. If Alabama won, Alabama and Florida State won their conference championship games. You knew there was going to be chaos. The easiest thing for the committee would have been Georgia to win and Florida State to lose. And then, all right, at that point, it's easy. We're talking Washington, Michigan, you put Texas in at that point, and Georgia. That's your four then. But with Georgia losing, then you got to deal with Alabama and what to do with Georgia after that. And if Florida State wins, it would have been easy if they lost. You keep them out, but if Florida State wins, do you put Florida State in? What do you do in that spot? So we got the chaos. I know a lot of us root for the chaos. I certainly root for the chaos with college football. But we got the chaos, and we got a lot of angry people. The NBA in-season tournament quarterfinals are tonight. So that's got some juice to it. Monday Night Football, we got to keep track of what's going on there. That's a big thing for the Dolphins, Jaguars, and Bengals tonight. We're big Bengals fans this evening, all right? So a lot happening. And by the way, shout out, over the weekend, I went to Unbranded Brewery in Hialeah, CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling, Bash at the Brew 35, King of the Territory, QT Marshall, former AEW wrestler. He is now King of the Territory. He won the 30-man over-the-top King of the Territory match. So QT Marshall, he's now the number one contender. Took my son for the first time. He'd never been to CCW. We had a great time. So shout out to Unbranded Brewery. Shout out to Nelio and CCW. Of course, shout out to my man Raul, Are You Hungry Grill. We had a lot of fun there on Saturday night. So appreciate those guys who always put on a great show. Really, really fun. And I love, by the way, I love running into fans of It's Still Real to Me. Going to try to get in an episode of It's Still Real to Me tonight, by the way. But I love running into fans of It's Still Real to Me and just ZASLOW Show 2.0 in general. I run into a lot of fans when I go to the CCW shows. I love it. Please say hello whenever you see me at stuff like that. So that was really great. All right, so let's start things off here with the Dolphins. Dolphins win 45-15. I had my father over yesterday. He left at halftime. It's like, all right, they're up. Well, was it 31-7 at halftime? It's like, all right, get out of here. You know, the Dolphins, they're so good now. They kill these bad teams. They just murder the bad teams. And I told you, because I've been on this the whole season when it comes to all the fraud stuff. I'd rather be a team like the Dolphins, who, like the Dolphins' losses, they lost to two great teams, Philadelphia and Kansas City. Buffalo's having a disaster of a year, but it was at the beginning of the year when Buffalo at the time I think was 3-1, and certainly everybody thought Buffalo was a Super Bowl contender, and the Dolphins lost there. So on the road to three really good teams, two of which were in the Super Bowl last year. I'd rather be that team than even a team like the Eagles. Now, not necessarily the Eagles, because I think the Eagles are better than the Dolphins, but a team like the Eagles where they lost at home to one of those great teams, San Francisco. Dolphins lost on the road to a great team. The Eagles lost at home, got their shit kicked in at home yesterday afternoon against a great team, and they also lost on the road against the worst team, the New York Jets, a horrible team. Or even a team like San Francisco where they lost at Cleveland, who didn't have a quarterback. I'd rather be the Dolphins. I'd rather lose on the road to great teams than get tripped up by shit teams. That's usually the sign of a great team. Now, you want to beat some of the other great teams, and the Dolphins are going to have another opportunity. You got Dallas in Week 16, at Baltimore Week 17, which looks like it's going to be for first in the AFC, and then at home against Buffalo Week 18. Dolphins are going to have a division wrapped up by then. Buffalo is not going to have a chance at division. That could actually happen in the next couple of weeks. We'll get to that in a second. Hopefully, though, Buffalo is still competing for a playoff spot by then, because going into Week 18, I want the Dolphins to have to win the top spot in the AFC in a bye and knock Buffalo out of the playoffs. That's the dream scenario, right, for Week 18. So we're hoping for that. But the Dolphins are going to have a chance to prove they could beat the good teams. You got 3 more chances coming up. But a sign of a good team, even a great team, they don't lose to the lesser teams. And not only do they not lose to the lesser teams, they kick the shit out of the lesser teams. They leave no doubt against the lesser teams. Look at what they do to these teams. Giants, Commanders, Panthers, Jets, Patriots. Look what they do to these bullshit teams. They curb stomp the lesser teams. So look, the Dolphin fan has to sit back and they got to eat it until the Dolphins wind up beating one of these good teams, and they're going to have another chance. They got 3 more chances coming up. Dallas, at Baltimore, Buffalo. So right now the Dolphin fan has to eat it. But the Dolphins' time is going to come. They're going to get to those games and they're going to win them. And when it gets to the playoffs, you only got to do it one time, all right? Survive in advance. But the Dolphins have put themselves in a position to get that number 1 spot because they don't get tripped up by the bad teams. Look at all the other teams at the top of the standings, right? I just told you, Philadelphia, they lost to the Jets. You look at Jacksonville, they lost to the Falcons, didn't they, in London, right? Baltimore lost to the Steelers. I don't care about the Steelers' record. That's not a good team. Kansas City lost to the Broncos. The Dolphins, their losses are the Bills. If you want to say the Bills are a bad team, I'm not going to stop you, but we all know that the Bills are a Super Bowl contender going into this year. Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. Those are the Dolphins' 3 losses. Even a team like Detroit. I mean, Detroit losing at home last week on Thanksgiving to Green Bay. Now, that loss against Green Bay is looking a lot better right now for Detroit, but still a home loss at the time, a 4-6 Green Bay team. Every one of these teams has bad losses. And the fact that it was Detroit losing at home to Green Bay makes it a bad loss. And it really wasn't close. They're down double figures the whole game. Dolphins don't have any of those losses. Dolphins curb stomp the bad teams like you saw yesterday. So my pal Joey, the reason we didn't do It's Still Real to Me yesterday, my man Joey was in D.C. He flew up to go to the Dolphin game. He sent me video before the game started of the crowd. Just a sea of Dolphins aqua. Just a sea of Dolphin fans. So cool. Now, like the second level and the upper level, it's pretty empty, yes. That's a pathetic sight there in D.C. And the lower level, I mean, it had to be 70% Dolphin fans. Just a sea of aqua. Major Dolphin crowd there yesterday, which is so damn cool. And I was jealous because, like, I've only been to 1 Dolphin road game in my life. It was back in, I guess it was 2003, I believe. Dolphins, I was still in school. Dolphins were at the Jaguars. So, all right, Jacksonville, 90 minutes from Gainesville. And it was 1, 2, I think it was 5 of us. All of us are wearing a different Miami Dolphins jersey, which was cool. And the 5 of us went to the game, and it was fun. Dolphins won 24-10. Sam Madison had a pick 6 late in the game to ice it. And the Dolphins won the game. They were good that year. Like, did they have Ricky Williams still? I think they did. I don't remember. But, like, Dolphins were good that year. I don't know if they made the playoffs, which I guess means that maybe they weren't that good. But, I think they had a winning record. Anyway, it's the only time I've ever been to a Dolphins road game. And it was cool, except I did leave saying to myself, man, that is such a buster crowd in Jacksonville. So, I didn't feel like I got the full road experience, just the buster crowd. And I'll go to a Dolphin game like yesterday, and then you know about the MetLife takeover. 2 straight weeks, massive Dolphin crowd on the road. And look, we know there are Dolphin fans all over the country. And the Dolphin fan is showing you they travel pretty well. And the greater point is, Dolphins are fucking back, man. And what I mean by that is, they're back to being a national team. That's the way it was when I was a kid. That's the way it was when I was a teenager. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s, the Dolphins were a national team. Dolphin fans are everywhere. And now we're back in the place where the Dolphin fan is showing up and showing out on the road and taking over these road stadiums. Dolphins are back, man. That was such a cool scene yesterday. All the videos and the pictures coming out. Good on you guys who got on a bird there and you went out to support the Dolphins. Man, That was that was a really cool scene. That's a good job out of you guys. And I told you last week, I was upset that I didn't plan in advance to do the MetLife takeover because you also had the Heat in New York taking on the Knicks for the in-season. Was that just last week or was that 2 weeks ago? Whenever it was, I was annoyed that I didn't plan that out. No, it had to be last week. Yeah, absolutely. So because it was Black Friday. So anyway, next week from tonight, Monday Night Football, Dolphins, Titans. Your boy's going. I'm taking my son. It's a Hanukkah gift. Hanukkah starts this week. 8 crazy nights. So taking my son to Monday Night Football. He's never been to Monday Night Football, so that's going to be great. And they're going to beat the shit out of Tennessee. It's great, like, going into these Dolphin games, and it doesn't matter if it's at home or if it's on the road. You go into these games knowing they're just going to kick the shit out of these teams. It doesn't matter if it's home or road. And this, I know Mike McDaniel talked about this in the post-game locker room yesterday. And the team was 8-3 last year. Tua got hurt. It fell apart. 5 straight losses. 8-3 this year and now 9-3. It definitely feels different from last year. We go into all these games, and yes, they are taking advantage of the schedule. But that's the point. You go into these games just knowing they're gonna kick the shit out of these teams. And it happened yesterday, and it was in super exciting fashion where you get on the board, Tyreek Hill, 78 yards to Tyreek Hill's like, once he catches it, you just start cheering immediately, even though it's midfield. Just, yeah, someone's going to catch him. No one's going to catch him. Then you get 10-0. I was surprised that they actually went for the field goal there and go for it because it was 4th and 2. And then you get Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel, the Gink, stepping up. How about Van Ginkel and Ogba? You know, obviously they're going to miss Jalen Phillips, but maybe they're not going to miss Jalen Phillips. You know, Van Ginkel, Ogba. If Ogba is the guy he was from 2 years ago, that's actually replacing Jalen Phillips. So now he hasn't been heard from in 2 years since he got that contract. But Ogba, another sack. Yes, I love when our guys get sacks. Sacks. I love getting sacks. I think I like sacks more than interceptions. I mean, I know which one's more important, but I don't know. I just feel like getting sacks is cool. And the Dolphins had so much pressure there. How about rewind to how we all felt about the Dolphin defense the first few games. And yes, getting Jalen Ramsey back is a major deal. Major deal. But man, Dolphins defense is so legit. Look what they did to Sam Howell yesterday. I know he's just Sam Howell. He's leading the league in yards. He's leading the league in passing yards going into yesterday. Like that, he can sling it. He's having a great season, Sam Howell. And the errors that they forced him into, the pressure they were able to put on him, this is why I told you after the Kansas City loss, I wasn't mad. I felt good about this team. I felt better about them after the Kansas City loss because this defense is dominant. I know what the offense is. In that game against Kansas City, Kansas City's defense is good. And the offense struggled in that game. But I know what the offense is. This Dolphin defense holding that Kansas City team, because remember, you had Tyreek Hill with the fumble at the end of the half, only allowed 14 points and none in the second half to Kansas City. I know what this offense is. I know what they're going to do. I know what they're capable of. The Dolphin defense is legit. And if this is what we got, they are a better team. They are going to be a better team in December than they were at the start of the year. And guess what? We're in December, and they are better than they were at the start of the year. It's exactly what I told you. It's exactly what I said I felt after the Kansas City game. I didn't feel bad about it because they are going to be better in December than they were at that moment. And they are. I know what this offense is. And you saw it yesterday. But this defense is how this team is going to win. And I don't believe the whole defense wins championships. No. Being great on offense, being great on defense, being great on special teams, that's how you win. Being great at everything is how you win championships. So it's one thing to be great on offense, which is what the Dolphins had been all of last year and then at the start of this year. It's not about defense winning championships. It's about being great on both sides of the ball, winning championships. And now the Dolphins defense is on that level. It really is. Go look up the Dolphins numbers since the last 6 or 7 weeks. Go look up the Dolphins defensive numbers. I went over it for you last week compared to the first 4 or 5 weeks of the year. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. So it's not about defenses winning championships. It's about great on offense, great on defense, great on special teams, winning you championships. And the Dolphins are there now. And that's why I felt better about this team after the Kansas City loss than I did going into that game. And look where we are now. Look at you now.